In John chapter 7, Jesus tells his brothers that he is not going to the Feast of Tabernacles. But then he turns around and goes to that same feast. Was this a lie? Today we're going to take a look at that, and in order to do so, we have to take an in-depth look at 10 verses. I'm going to be moving rather quickly, so if you want to pause or stop, or if I gloss over something and it needs clarification, please make mention of it in the comments, and I will circle back around and clear up something that maybe I have gone past a little too quickly. So let us begin in John chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. This is from the ESV. After this, Jesus went about in Galilee. He would not go about in Judea because the Jews were seeking to kill him. Now the Jews' feast of booths was at hand. So these two verses tell us two important things. Jesus focused his ministry in Galilee because he knew that there was an active plot against his life in Judea, more specifically in the capital of Judea, Jerusalem. And we're also told that the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles, was at hand, it says in the ESV. Ein engus, was near, was drawing near, was imminent. So this is one of the three pilgrimage feasts. What does that mean? It means that the pilgrimage feasts, if a person is able to attend, they are supposed to attend. They're supposed to make the trip to Jerusalem. Most people, because you can't fit everybody into the city of Jerusalem, they're in the towns and villages surrounding. You're supposed to go up to Jerusalem in Judea for the feast. So we have Passover in the spring, the Day of Atonement in the fall, and the Feast of Booths that comes, Tabernacles that comes soon thereafter. The three pilgrimage feasts, you're supposed to go. So we know that about the culture and the custom. If you can go, you're supposed to go. Let's go on to verses 3 and 4. So his brothers said to him, "Leave here and go to Judea, that your disciples may see the works you are doing. For no one works in secret if he seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world." Pretty powerful stuff. So they say, you're doing impressive things here in Galilee, but there are not a lot of people here in Galilee. We're out in the countryside. You should go up to Judea. Particularly, you should go up at the time of the feast when a mass of people are migrating, making the pilgrimage for the feast, so you can do the things you're doing here in their presence, and they can see what you're doing. Because anybody who wants to gather a large following doesn't work in secret, but works openly. Go up there, seize this opportunity to show people what you can do, and you will enlarge your following. You will improve your brand if you go to where the people are gathered for the feast. Now let's take a look at this phrase, one of the parts of the phrase in Greek. Metabethi and tuthen kai hupage eis tein Eudian, pardon me. Leave here and go up to Judea. But he doesn't say go, they don't say go up to Judea. The verb we expect when you say go up, when you say go to Jerusalem, go to Judea, is anabino. Anabino, literally, I go up, right? Katabino, I go down. Parabino, I go along. Peribino, I go around. But they don't use anabino, go up to the feast. They use a form of metabino. They use an imperative, metabethi. And meta, after, means change your location. Not go up to the feast, but change your base of operation. You've been doing your ministry in Galilee, metabethi, unto Judea. Change your base of operation from Galilee to Judea, because that's where the crowd will be, and that's where they can see you doing the things you're doing. Because after all, anyone who wants to get famous doesn't work in secret. They go where the people are so they can be seen. That's what they told him, right? So use the occasion of the feast to change your venue, your base of operation. Go from Galilee up to Judea, not just for the feast, but go there because that's where the people are, and that's where you're going to gain more fame. So what's their presumption? Their presumption is that he wants to be seen and to be known. Their presumption is that he should want to go to a place where he can gain more fame. His followers will see what he's doing at the Feast of Tabernacles, and the number of his followers will increase, right? He can go there and build his brand. But now we get to an incredibly important part. Look at verse 5 in the I put the ESV at the bottom with the Greek at the top. Udegar hoiadelphoi autou episteuon eis. For not even his brothers believed in him. Why does John make the point to tell us that the brothers who just said all this don't believe in Jesus? Why? Because their agenda and their purpose, their motives, are not those of faith in Jesus as the long-awaited and promised Messiah. They're talking about him building his brand. They're talking about him making the most of the gathering of people for the Feast of Tabernacles, of booths, so he can enhance his status and his stature in the society. But remember the first thing we were told? Jesus doesn't operate up there because he knows they're plotting against his life. So his brothers who don't believe in him, they don't even have a regard for his safety. All they care about is this opportunity for him to become more famous, to build his brand even larger. Pretty wild stuff. Somebody out there saying, but wait, maybe they wanted him to go because they thought more people could come to faith in him. We were just explicitly told that they don't believe in him. So that can't be their motivation. It's not a motive of devotion. It's a motive of looking at things from the standpoint of fame and prominence. And by association, they gain fame and prominence, right? Let's carry on. Verses 6 and 7. Jesus said to them, "My time is not yet come, but your time is always here. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify about it that its works are evil." So he says to them, we're not operating from the same position. We're not operating from the same place. We have different worldviews and we have different self-views. It's not my time for going up to Jerusalem and showing the reality of who I am and what I'm capable of. It's not my time. But it's always your time. And then he says a profound thing. The world cannot hate you. Literally, it's a form of the verb dunomai. The world doesn't have the ability or power to hate you. Why not? Because the world and his brothers have the same worldview. For the world to hate them would be to hate itself. The world is consumed with prestige and influence and popularity and power, and they're saying you should go up there when all the people are gathered, do the things you're doing here so that they're not done in secret, but they're done openly where people can see it, and the people would flock to you. Jesus says, this is always your time. The world can't hate you. You've got the same perspective as the world. But Jesus says, I don't. It's not time for me to do that kind of thing. I'm content doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it. Let's carry on. Verses 8 and 9. You go up to the feast. I am not going up to this feast, for my time is not yet fully come. After saying this, he remained in Galilee. Let's take a look in Koine. Humes anabete, eis heorete. You go up to the feast. So notice that the imperative here is from anabino, go up. When you go to Jerusalem, you're always going up to Jerusalem. The feast is going to be held in Jerusalem in Judea. From Galilee, you're going to go up. Anabete. Then he says, ego uk anabino, but I'm not going up. I'm not going up specifically Aistain heortain tautain. I'm not going up to this feast. This is pretty astonishing stuff. He says, uk anabino. I am not going up. He just told them go up, then he says, I'm not going up. Pretty significant. He doesn't say I'm not changing my base of operations. He doesn't use the verb that they used, metabino. He uses anabino, which we would expect. Now, in the next verse, we're going to be told that Jesus, in fact, does go up to the feast. Does he lie? Well, there's a textual variant that can solve this problem for us. There's a minority position where instead of saying uk anabino, it says hupo anabino. I am not yet going up. Wow. What a relief. We don't have to ask ourselves this question. We can just adopt the minority reading where Jesus doesn't say, I'm not going up to this feast. He says, I'm not yet going up to this feast. That would be convenient for us, right? But I want to remind you of one of the principles of textual criticism. When you're confronted with a variant, first and foremost, you look for the age and broadness of the source material, and you would prefer the older variant. And we can do that with uk, not hupo. I prefer uk to hupo because it's older and it's more widely distributed. But here's the second principle we want to bring into play. The more difficult reading is to be preferred. So, uk anabino, I am not going up, and then he turns around and goes, leaves us with this difficulty. He said he wasn't going, but he went. Hupo anabino eliminates that problem. He didn't say he wasn't going to go. He said he wasn't going to go yet. You guys go, I'm not going yet, I'm going to go later. Alleviates the problem for us. But we're supposed to prefer the more difficult variant because an editor, a pious editor, someone who's motivated by devotion, if he's going to make a change, he'll make the change to eliminate the controversy, not to add the controversy. So if the original text has Jesus say, I am not going to this feast, but then he goes to the feast, we have a controversy. Did Jesus tell a lie to his brothers? But if someone wants to eliminate the controversy, how do they do it? They replace uk with hupo. I am not yet going to this controversy. The principles of textual criticism would tell us that we should prefer uk anabino, I am not going, to hupo anabino, because if you're going to make the change, you eliminate the controversy, you don't import a controversy. And that's what uk anabino would do. If it was originally hupo anabino and I change it to uk anabino, I'm adding controversy where there was none, and that's unlikely to be done by a pious, devoted editor, translator, right? See my point? I hope I made that clear. So that's what we get. That's why I believe, and that's why most Greek testaments hold to uk anabino. It's the older, more difficult reading and is therefore more likely to be what John originally wrote. I am not going up to this feast, which brings us to the next important part. Aistain heortain tautain. This feast. The phrase this feast is redundant. There's only one feast being discussed, the Feast of Tabernacles or Booths. There's not another feast that's imminent, so why would he say, I'm not going up to this feast? He just needs to say, I'm not going up to the feast. There's only one feast that they're discussing. But if it means this feast, the feast as you guys envision it, then it makes more sense, doesn't it? And we're going to see that very plainly when we get to verse 10. So the feast as you guys envisioned it, if he goes with them, if he leaves with them and goes up, it's almost like he's accepting the premise that he should go there, this feast as they see it, an opportunity to show off and gain fame. I'm not going to this feast. I'm not going to the feast that you guys understand. I'm not going to the worldly perspective of the feast, a chance to perform and gain an audience and gain followers. I'm not interested in doing that. He tells them, you go up. I'm not going to the thing that you're describing. That's not, it's not yet my time. I'm not going to Jerusalem to put on any kind of a demonstration. That's not going to happen. Let's go on to verse 10. Because remember, he said, my time is not fully yet come. We're told he remains in Galilee. Then we get this powerful stuff in verse 10. But after his brothers had gone up to the feast, then he also went up, not publicly, but in private. So he said he wasn't going. He waited for his brothers to go. Then he went, but we're told he didn't go with them. And we're given the coup de grace, the magnificent part of it. Then he went up also, not publicly, but in private. Let's go back to verse 4 for a moment. No one works in secret. This is the brothers talking. No one works in secret if he seeks to be known openly. Show yourself to the world. That's what they told him in verse 4. In secret is en crypto. We get cryptography, right? Secret code. No one goes en crypto, in secret. No one works in secret. Then they say to him, show yourself to the world. Phaneroson. That's the imperative. Show yourself. Make a show of it. Now, let's jump down to verse 10. Then he also went up, not publicly, phaneros, right? So they said, show yourself, phaneroson, and he went up not publicly, phaneros, not showing himself, but in private, in crypto, just like they said. Nobody who wants to be known works in crypto. How does he go up to the feast? He goes in crypto. They want him to show himself, phaneroson, but he went up phaneros, not publicly, not in a showy manner. Jesus acts in exactly the opposite manner to what the brothers wanted him to do and how the brothers understood he should do things. And Jesus equates their way with the world. And he not only does he not want to go along with that, when he does go, he literally, when we look at the use of the words, he literally goes in the opposite fashion of how they see that he should go. So he didn't go to this feast as they saw it, eorte tautein, this feast, the way they saw it. The way he went to the feast was the opposite of everything that they understood and believed the feast should be in regard to Jesus and fame and fortune and influence. So when he went on his terms for his purposes according to his timing. When he went, he didn't go the way they wanted him to. How do we know? Because when you read the rest of John 7, he didn't go and do miracles. He went quietly, went to the temple and taught people. Those who happened to show up, he didn't try to draw a crowd. Those who happened to show up heard him teach. They didn't see him do great works in order to show himself to be great and to draw followers to himself. He quietly sat and taught in the temple. He wasn't there to build his brand. He was there to teach about his Father and his Father's kingdom. So, did Jesus tell a lie? No, because he didn't go to this feast. He didn't go to the feast that he sent his brothers to. He didn't go to the feast as they understood it with their worldly brand building concept. When he went to the feast, he went quietly, not in a showy fashion, and went and taught people, not for the purpose of gaining followers, but so they could truly understand what the feast was about, and so that they could be drawn near to his Father and not to a show. Fantastic stuff. Hope that was good for you. I reiterate, if I glossed over anything, if I went too fast anywhere, leave me a note in the comments, and I'll do my best to circle back around to it. But remember, choose the more difficult reading, because the right version is not, the right variant is not the one that makes me feel better. It's not the one that makes the problems go away. It's the one that's more likely to have been what the original author wrote. I hope that was good for you. See you next time. Charis Kairene, Humene, grace and peace to you.